Good morning. Welcome to another provocative episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. And now here's your invective and illuminating host, Voice of Doom. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for that wonderful reception. So I'm going to clarify a bit on Petri dish from my last diatribe because I left out a few things, comments about his idiocy, and I can add a little about his recent trip to the disaster area, which went just exactly like I thought it would. Nothing new or surprising there. But back to his turning the page speech. Let's get on with our lives and forget about that pesky Afghanistan situation. And let's get into things that have to do with infrastructure. Now, the job report came out, which is all a pile of crap because it's implying that the government's in charge of how many jobs are created. And if more jobs are created, it's the government to take credit. And if less jobs are created, then it's somebody else's fault. But I don't see what job creation has to do with the government, because the only government jobs are bureaucratic jobs, and they got their own system. Now, he was contradicting himself right and left basically with that, because first he says that, he wants to help, the states continue with the stimulus and with stipends and supplements because people are struggling. And of course he supports the moratorium on rents and I guess mortgages, but rents especially, that, I don't see how that helps. Are you going to pay all the money back and then not pay for 10 months and then pay $10,000 or whatever? Try to catch up when things get better. So that moratorium says to me that, he's letting the whole thing fall apart, which they have been steadily for years now. The contradiction, then he says at the end, well, the job reports were bad because there's too much stimulus and there's too much unemployment being given out still to people that can find jobs, and that's why the jobs report. So he plays one side and then the other, and we're not supposed to notice because he's incoherent anyway, so it really doesn't matter if he contradicts himself because, it's gibberish. But I wanted to comment on that and comment on the obvious fact that, they're bound and determined to raise people's kids. And by raise them, the government is going to indoctrinate the teachers who are going to indoctrinate the children. And you don't have to be very political at first. And I was looking through my wife's old notes because out of curiosity, and she was very devoted to teaching preschool. But she gave up on it because maybe she saw the writing on the wall. And it's all kind of political with personality, so it's very complicated. I'll do a whole diatribe on that later, because it's important to know that I'm special and I deserve this and I don't need to do much to get this. That's what they're putting in the kids' heads at 3 and 2 and 4. And I'm seeing, they're holding the kid in their arms and about 2 years old, and she's got the phone in her hand staring at it. And I'm looking at that like, okay, it's over. That's the little things that a genius notices to know it's over, because they might be smarter in communication and in certain things, and their thumbs may be very agile, but I don't know what's going to happen to their brains. And I hope they don't, ban this like they banned another thing. Whenever I show any concern for young people, infants, I get banned. So I just can see, we're going to make it easier for daycare. The infrastructure is going to, take care of mothers who need daycare. Never mention fathers, unless they're fathers who want to be mothers or. But, you can see cradle to grave, and they say that as a cliche, but it means cradle to grave because the world's too complicated to have everybody just do whatever they want. Can't have that anymore. So we need anarchy, and then we need structure. But it's too late for that because there is no future. That's very obvious. I mean, not the kind of future they're planning. That's not going to happen. So that's it on Petri dish. He went to Louisiana, and he went to a nice neighborhood, a reasonably middle-class neighborhood. I'm kind of like the one I grew up in, and stood there at a podium and spattered about 2 or 3, 4 platitudes, and then stared off vacantly into space and walked away. So, they're going to help. And I have compassion for everyone in the Gulf area because they're always getting hit over and over and over again, and they keep rebuilding like ants. And it's probably like, well, it's worth it. It's not too expensive to live here because we get destroyed every 2 years. So, people do what they want to do. I'm sure the bayou is great, but I feel sorry because it gets into anarchy, and then people slip into their primitive nature. But I did want to get into a little more Mandarin, and I don't want to have a lesson because I found some really interesting stuff. Really interesting. Let's see, how can I put this? Zhangguo Zhong Shui Meiguo. I can't say it very well. I'm going to have to keep practicing that. Zhangguo Zhong Shui Meiguo. And it sounds kind of like that. Zhangguo is the word for China. Zhang means in, during, among, within, and amid. It means middle, basically, is the bottom line. Shang. Guo, which means kind of country, if you translate it to our language, but in their language, Guo means pass, cross, live, and tick. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Zhangguo is China, and it means middle, pass, or among, cross, within, live. I don't know how their vernacular is, but it sounds rather middle way in Buddhism. Sounds like, a country. I don't know how you put the words together, but listen to this. You may find this kind of interesting. I want you to pay attention. The word for America and the United States, I checked it out. It's both terms. The Chinese word is Meiguo. Now, I said guo means pass, cross, live, and tick. I don't know what they mean by tick. May. I looked that up. I just started parsing the words to see exactly. Now, listen to this. May means no, not, have not, disappear, die, sink, submerge, hide, overflow, drowned, haven't. And may is a prefix for un, like in unwanted and unnecessary and unreliable and uncouth. Meiguo, if you translate it correctly, Meiguo means no country, not country, have not country, disappear country, die country, sink country, submerge country, hide country, overflow country, drowned country, haven't country, and as a prefix for un-country. So just think about that for a second. Just put that in the back of your mind and let it percolate a bit, and then, pour it out through a strainer and see what you come up with. That's China's, or Shangguo's idea of what we are. Meiguo is no, not, disappear, die. just a theory I have. Maybe nobody else has noticed it. I know there's Mandarin speakers who probably live in America, and who they work for, I don't know. But I don't think I've heard this on Fox or YN or Gravitas or The Five or any of those. So there's some exclusive stuff for you, which you can find very easily in the computer. It's so simple. And I may be a little inaccurate, but I don't think I'm that inaccurate. Now let me just kind of drive home the point of what we're looking at here so I can scare you even more. I was looking at Chinese words and I'm like, XI, what does that mean in Chinese? Xi in Chinese means happiness. And I found that interesting. I was skeptical about whether that was Xi Jinping's real name. And I looked him up, and it is his real name. Xi Jinping, born June 15th, 1953. His father was Xi Shangshun. And that name means happiness, middle, searching, or seeking. So he's a seeking spirit. Mother is Qi Xin, and that means that new or that fresh or that modern. So he sounds like he has cool parents. Now here's what happened. He was 10. Okay, first of all, his father was a member and a official with the Communist Party during Mao's heyday. We're talking, late 50s, early 60s. And apparently he fell out of favor when Xi Jinping was 10. The father fell out of favor with the party and was ostracized. That would be 1963. And the father was shunted off to a factory to be a worker there instead of his official capacity in the party. So that must have been great. May of 66, Cultural Revolution. That was a mess. And the same thing as Cambodia. The kids were, given charge to, purge the older people, the intellectuals, the teachers, the landlords. And his father was one of those people being vilified and ridiculed and being probably had a dunce cap on his head, and they're herding him down the street and ridiculing him. So at the same time, Xi Jinping is 15, and he has to leave school because he has to participate in this revolt against intelligence. Now, it gets interesting now. The father is imprisoned when he was 15. Sister commits suicide out of despair, home ransacked. Mother is forced to denounce father. And that all happened when he was 15, which is a very formative time of you want to be independent, but you're still kind of dependent on your family. It's a crucial point in your life. I'm going to say that again. When he was 15, his father, who was formerly a Communist Party official, was imprisoned. His home was ransacked, his sister commits suicide, and his mother is forced to denounce father in front of some tribunal. Now, Xi Jinping ends up going to a country side village because they have this new agrarian reform thing, and he's going to start from the ground zero. And the first thing he does is become a party official in the village, and he becomes a top party official in the village. And he, moves up in the ranks until you see what you have now. And I find that very interesting. I don't have to be a psychologist to think he's at odds with his own ideology. He's at odds with his own philosophy that he believed in, because the philosophy he believes in destroyed his family. Now think about that for a second. Just have breakfast, pour a bowl of cereal, and watch this all over again and listen to what I'm saying. This guy that is amassing a lot of power through ways that you guys don't even know because you don't watch the news and I don't talk about American news. Zhang Guo is putting itself in a position to really take over the Eastern Hemisphere, lock, stock, and barrel. Figure it out. Look up the Belt Road Initiative, BRI, and Zhang Guo, and get it together and learn what's happening, because when it happens, you guys are all going to have your jaws drop and you're all going to run around looking for toilet paper. And I'm going to be laughing my head off, because I told you already. This guy is a sociopath, and he's very quiet, which scares the crap out of me. And I gave you every reason to know why. Married twice, now he's married to a folk singer. They have more or less separate lives, but she's good. You know, she's a good window dressing. Favorite movies, Saving Private Ryan, The Godfather, and The Departed. So he's got good taste in movies. And think about those movies that he likes. Think about the plot and how it all unfolds. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say. Sai Jin and Xie, and think about what I said, because I think it's really important. See ya.